Epic Animation Review. Perfectly serviceable though it is, this animated woodland saga feels cobbled together from many sources. That title is inviting the addition of the word fail, but actually this is perfectly serviceable family animation. Even so, generic might have been a better description. Its woodland saga feels cobbled together from a dozen other sources, including Fern Gully, A Bug's Life, Arthur and the Invisibles, The Borrowers, Roger Dean, even Fifi and the Flower Tots. Our heroine is a lonely human teen, Amanda Seyfried, who's shrunk to fairy size to aid magical forest dwellers in their battle against decay-spreading baddies. The motivation for the decay spreading is unclear, they're just baddies. Boxes are studiously ticked. There's a mini-teen hunk for Seyfried to flirt with, comedy gastropod sidekicks, parenting issues, eco-sentiments, bird-back aerial action and random celebrity voice cameos, including Beyoncé, Steven Tyler and Pitbull. What stands out is the animation. The microcosmic woodland world is luminous and detailed, and there's a nice disconnect of scale whereby humans appear as lumbering, slow-motion giants. The most imaginative section of Epic starts with shots of the forest that rings the home of Professor Bomber, voiced by Jason Sudeikis, the inventor dad of the film's heroine, Mary Catherine, Amanda Seyfried. Some leaves and branches are in crisp focus. Others are out of focus. The images are so entrancing on their own terms that it takes a while to register the creatures in the out-of-focus parts of the shot, disguising themselves against foliage and bark. Then comes a very long, unbroken shot that prowls across a collage of significant objects, the professor's journals and equations, blueprints and sketches, research photos and files. These clerical objects look both real and illustrated. You can see dirt, dust, fingerprints. The imagery may remind film buffs of the opening credits of To Kill a Mockingbird, which probed the contents of a box that Scout left for Boo Radley. Before you get excited about Epic, I should warn you that this sequence isn't representative of the film, not at all. What I've just described are the movie's end credits. They're afterthoughts, designed to keep older children amused while parents help little ones don their shoes and backpacks before tramping out for pizza. But they offer hints of what Epic could have been, were it not such a slave to cliches of modern American cartoon making. Epic is a 2013 American computer-animated fantasy action-adventure film loosely based on William Joyce's 1996 children's book The Leaf Men and the Brave Good Bugs. It was produced by Blue Sky Studios, written by William Joyce, James V. Hart, Daniel Shere, Tom J. Astle and Matt Ember, and directed by Chris Wedge, the director of the animated movies Ice Age, 2002 and Robots, 2005. The film features the voices of Colin Farrell, Josh Hutcherson, Amanda Seyfried, Christoph Waltz, Aziz Ansari, Chris O'Dowd, Pitbull, Jason Sudeikis, Steven Tyler, and Beyoncé Knowles. After teenager Mary Catherine gets shrunk and teleported to a tiny woodland kingdom inhabited by talking slugs, flower people and tiny soldiers called leaf men, she is swept up in a wild adventure between good and evil and, alongside her new friends, must fight to protect the world she never knew existed. Epic was released on May 24, 2013, by 20th Century Fox. It received generally positive reviews from critics and grossed $268 million against its $93 million budget. Epic received generally mixed to positive reviews from critics. Rotten Tomatoes gives the film a 65% approval rating based on 127 reviews, with an average score of 5.85 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, "Though its narrative themes are all too familiar, Epic is beautifully animated and crafted with just enough flair to make for solid family entertainment." Another review aggregation website, Metacritic, which assigns a normalized rating out of 100 top reviews from mainstream critics, calculated a score of 52 out of 100 based on 30 reviews, indicating mixed or average reviews. Now I'm explaining the movie plot. After her mother dies, 17-year-old Mary Catherine, or MK, moves in with her eccentric scientist father Professor Bomber, who has spent his life searching for tiny humanoid soldiers called Leafmen in Danbury, Connecticut. They protect the forest near where Bomber lives from wicked creatures called Bogans and their malevolent leader Mandrake. Bomber's determination to find proof of his theories irritates his daughter as she believes it's nonsense, like her mother did, but Bomber assures her he'll find proof. Meanwhile, an independent young leafman named Nod decides to quit, much to the ire of the no-nonsense leader Ronin, who promised Nod's late father he'd look out for his son. The benevolent fairy queen of the forest, Queen Tara, must choose an heir to her throne and goes out to a field of leaf pods on board her flying barge and escorted by the royal guards, arriving at the field guarded by a laid-back slug named Mub and a wannabe leafman snail named Grub. Immediately after she chooses a pod, the Bogans attack. Tara flees the area with the pod, and though flying leafmen bodyguards do their best to protect her, they are soon overwhelmed by the sheer number of Bogans. Unable to reach the barge and the safety of the guards, while being chased, Ronin arrives for her and the pair fly off on his hummingbird mount. They are then attacked by Mandrake and his son Dagda. Dagda is killed by Ronin, but not until after he shoots Tara. Meanwhile, MK decides to leave after having an argument with Bomber about his research. Before she can leave, Bomber's dog Ozzy runs into the woods. While looking for Ozzy, MK sees Tara falling. Dying, Tara gives her the pod and uses her magic to shrink her. She tells MK to take the pod to Nimgaloo, a glowworm wizard, before she dies, and MK joins Ronin and the Leafmen, along with Mub and Grub. Ronin discovers that Nod has entered a race against other creatures and bugs on birds. Nod goes back on a deal with a short-tempered toad gangster named Bufo to throw the race. Before Bufo and his two henchmen can feed Nod to a snake, Ronin intervenes and orders them to leave. A reluctant Nod joins him, MK, Mub, and Grub after hearing about Queen Tara's death, which Bufo overhears. Nod, MK, Mub, and Grub eventually track down Nimgaloo. He then leads them down to the library, where MK discovers Tara's brief message before shrinking her, and a message that will get her back to normal size. When Ronin leaves, Nod takes MK on a deer ride and they begin to fall for each other. Meanwhile, Mandrake has had the Bogans bring Bufo to him, finding out the location of the pod. Mandrake goes to Nimgaloo's place to steal the pod, which, if it blooms in darkness, will help Mandrake destroy the forest. He takes the pod and kidnaps Mub and Grub. Ronin scolds Nod for not being there to protect the pod. To get into Bogan territory undiscovered, MK, Nod, and Ronin set out to Bomba's house to get some disguises, where MK learns that the Leaf Men have deliberately been leading Bomba off their trail. Bomba sees that he has visitors and captures MK, fainting when he sees her. MK marks the location of Moonhaven on a map Bomba has made of the forest before rejoining Nod and Ronin. When they reach the Bogan land, Ronin distracts the Bogans while MK and Nod rescue Mub, Grub, and the pod. Mandrake discovers them and orders the Bogans to stop them. MK, Nod, Mub, and Grub escape alive, but Ronin sacrifices himself to ensure their escape. Before the full moon can sprout the pod at Moonhaven, Mandrake's bats block the light, causing the pod to begin sprouting in darkness. The Leaf Men set out to fight the Bogans. MK tries to get help from her father by visiting his various cameras he had set in the forest. However, upon regaining consciousness, Bomba believes that he didn't really see MK and that he has been insane all these years, and shuts down all his cameras. He changes his mind when he sees the red pushpin that MK had put on his map. Bomba is overjoyed to see that he has been right and he follows MK to Moonhaven. MK uses Bomba's iPod to make bat sounds, luring Mandrake's bats away. Meanwhile, Mub and Nimgaloo try to stop Mandrake from reaching the pod, but are unsuccessful. Just then, Ronin appears, bearing scars and bruises from the Bogans. Mandrake manages to outdo him, but is defended by Nod, who finally realizes the importance of teamwork. Before Mandrake can obtain his victory, the pod blooms in moonlight, as Mandrake falls into the bough of a nearby tree. The chosen heir is the flower child who helped save Tara earlier in the film. Grub becomes a Leaf Man, Nod and Ronin reconcile, and Nod and MK kiss before MK is returned to her original size. After reuniting with Bomba and becoming his assistant, the human family still keep regular contact with their small friends as they continue the research of their world.